I know I had heard this before, but I was pretty shocked to hear that not much has changed since 1938.
Hi guys, I'm Avery Clyde and you're at Curiously Clean Chaos. Today we're talking to my friend Julie Riley and she's going to break down this workshop. I'm petting her dog right now. She's going to break down this workshop that she went to and I am so curious and ready to ask her a bunch of questions. So hang with us.
I'm Julie Riley and I am an attorney who works on environmental and water issues, and I called my friend Avery when I went to a conference recently that was talking about the history of our government regulating what goes into our body products and cosmetics. And I know I had heard this before, but I was pretty shocked to hear that not much has changed since 1938 when the original federal law was put in place. And it's pretty shocking. What we put on our bodies has such lax oversight. I deal with laws and regulations that change every few months, so it's pretty shocking and disappointing to know that the people who we elect to protect our public health and safety haven't found it necessary to revisit these protections in the past 85 years.
Toxic chemicals in cosmetics and personal care products. I mean, that is the title. Why are they there and what can we do about it? So when you were walking into this session, what did you think they were going to say?
Well, I had attended a couple of parties with you, so I was hoping that they were going to hit on some of the issues that you had brought up when we first heard about Beauty Counter. So I expected that there would be some dire facts that the professors and the people would share. I guess I didn't realize it would be as dire as it is.
And let's turn to page 2 on that note. And what comes up for me immediately when I started the Beauty Counter was like, well, it must all be about money. Is it all about money?
It's also about not being required by the government or informed consumers that's not acceptable. Tar and untested ingredients onto and into our bodies is not something that we're going to tolerate. A lot of the marketing that we see in a lot of cosmetics and beauty products is going to people's insecurities. They're targeting people who have a lot of other things going on in their life, and they think, hey, if I buy this eyeliner, it's going to make me feel better about myself.
All these things are all tied together?
Well, I guess they would say they're tied together, but also a lot of, there are different products that, as a white woman, I use that a black woman doesn't use. And a lot of marketing to black women is very obviously targeted. The racism part is that for decades they've been trying to sell them skin products to lighten their skin, which is not going to be healthy and good for their skin, or to straighten their hair. And so that's preying on their insecurities and the racism part that these marketers are taking advantage of too. I've had my hair permed throughout the years. If you want to change the texture of your hair for your own reasons, at least we want it to be done in a way that's not going to cause long-term damage, or like the damage has at least been studied.
1938, you guys have probably heard me say that. It was the last time, well, the Food and Drug Cosmetics Act is actually the name of it.
But I think that was, the only time where the federal government has stepped in, and that was back when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president, the midst of the Great Depression, and there were some overarching good society laws that were put in place. I don't think that they were specifically, going down to what the ingredients were in lipstick, but they probably thought at some point we could check into what goes into our products.
Right. So that was the last federal law, that act. Is that the same thing, an act and a law?
Yeah.
Okay. See, she's teaching me little things that are important, right? 1938, the Food and Drug Cosmetics Act. That's the last time any federal law has been passed in the United States on the personal care products industry. Isn't that amazing? Now, Beauty Counter has helped push through some bills, but this is a law,
Yeah.
right? So we're working on it, but we're just not there yet. How far out do you think we are?
The person who gave this presentation is an attorney, a professor, and she has worked, and I think with you know, with Beauty Counter and,
Yeah.
and other advocates to get things at a state level. But you cross the across the border into Nevada or Arizona, you should expect to have the same quality of products
You
that
don't.
you're going to get in California. It's not something that could be confined to just a state level. But I think the takeaway would be that the law is not going to change until people demand it.
Yeah. And gosh, even when we went to DC, or Beauty Counter went to DC, we took like 100 reps. I guess this was a few years ago now because of COVID. But we would walk into, I say we as in Beauty Counter, would walk into a rep's office and like they wouldn't know. They didn't know all those facts either.
Yeah.
That's why you're at this workshop. And that's years later, right?
Yeah.
And people in your audience didn't know either. And, smart people over here. But like our representatives, when we would walk in, we walked into every single state's representatives thing, knocked on the door and said, let us just tell you about what's going on, right? And a lot of times they themselves were like, oh, I need to know that for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what are you talking about?
What did I just put?
Right? This thing makes someone's hair fall out. This thing, is connected to cancer. This thing is connected to developmental delays. I mean, there's like, it's serious stuff. So in 2005, California Safe Cosmetics Act, and there you go, right? It's parceled out to California. I mean, I have a video on YouTube where I go through all the acts and bills that we've been a part of, and you'll see it's like, okay, here's one for Hawaii, here's one for Oregon, here's one for California, here, and they're just all parsed out with the people getting together and making a fuss in their own state. But yes, wouldn't it be great? Because I even have people that I have met at different events who are flight attendants, and then they'll go to fly to Paris and they'll look at the same product here and the same product there, and they buy it over there because they make a better quality product over there because they have to.
Yeah.
Right? And it's got the same name on it, right? Trade secrecy claims allowed. Like, that's the biggie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I would take a step back also,
Yeah.
what maybe allowed California's law to be passed where it's not passed in other places is getting more women in elected offices, because more women are going to be using cosmetics and caring, having children. I didn't really think about what was in my body products until I was pregnant. And then I took a step back and thought, that's weird. Why didn't I care what was in my hormone-free milk or certain things until I had another body inside of me, where I kind of should have cared about it for my own sake.
Yeah.
But
women do a lot of things when they have kids, right?
Yeah.
You figure a lot of stuff out.
kind of wakes you up a little bit.
Me too. I started with Beauty Counter because of fertility issues. And that's how I found out about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have never taken authority over my own body. But like, that's reality, I think, for a lot of women. And nothing against women. This is just the evolution of how we've been growing up and taking care of ourselves. Everybody else is more important than the wife or the woman or the mom. It's taking care, right?
So men definitely didn't have it on the priority list of laws they needed to pass,
right,
to make sure that what was going on our eyelashes or our skin was something that needs to be tested. We at least need to have some sort of knowledge of what's happening. And I work in the drinking water industry, and I can tell you, when you turn on the tap at your house, your water supplier knows what exactly the composition is of that water, and they know what the studies show and what the long-term risks for cancer are, every element of that drinking water. Why can't we have that in our body lotion or our foundation or the things that we're wearing every single day?
Right, on the largest organ of your body.
Yeah. So I guess a company like cosmetic company X says, well, we have a special ingredient. That's what makes, my lotion that I'm selling to you get rid of wrinkles and therefore I can't tell anyone else about this because it will take my competitive advantage away from me.
Right. We call it the fragrance loophole.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because fragrance is always a trade secret. So really, you could have hundreds of ingredients inside of fragrance and not have to disclose it. So it's crazy.
And they can be pretty bad for you.
Yes, yes. And then also, like, I also learned recently too, they could be good separate, but then once they all get in the bottle together, they create something else that's really toxic for you. But nobody's testing that. Trade secrets. Sneaky, sneaky. This goes back to the Brazilian blowout litigation.
Yeah, so this professor who was giving this talk was one of the attorneys who sued the Brazilian blowout company because they had ingredients such as formaldehyde in the solution.
Yeah.
And they weren't disclosing that. And it was toxic, to say the least, for the people who were using it. And Brazilian blowout lost, and I believe they changed their formulation. So it still is, because I was listening to that going, I know people who get that. I think that's still on the market. I think it is on the market now, but it's different than what it was before they were sued.
Great of an example is that if people make a fuss and they're targeting something specific, we actually can change that.
Yeah.
And they will go and do the right thing because they have to and make a better product. It's possible.
Yeah.
That's what I always say to people about Beautycanner. Beautycanner is just a representation of it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want to crush the marketplace. We want business to thrive and people to make money.
Yeah.
But we want people to be safe too in the environment and all that good stuff. It's on how the marketplace is kind of taking control of itself, right? And there's pressure campaigns and secondary things like Skin Deep and EWG. In an absence of the federal government actually stepping in, people are creating
join together
and make it happen. So EWG, the Environmental Working Group, is one of the companies that Beautycanner works with, and they will score a product, household cleaners to skincare, personal care products, home products. So you can bink the barcode and it'll pop it up green, yellow, or red, I believe, and then a score 0 to 10. And you want to be in the lower end, right? 0 to 3, under 5. But you'll be surprised, man. I went to, one time I was just being totally curious. I went to Walgreens and I started binking baby products. And dude, I saw like 8s and 9s in the baby lotions. Beautycanner has a list of 1,800 ingredients called the Never List. And it's all the things that are questionable ingredients, right? They go on that list. But here are the facts, right? It's 600 ingredients in Canada that they ban, and 1,400 plus, I guess, in the EU, and the United States is 30.
Wow.
30. And when I started with Beautycanner, it was 11. It was 11. Like, there is a conversation for it out there. It's just not happening in the United States.
Yeah.
When you were there and you walk in knowing what you knew, did you walk out learning anything new that you didn't know before you got there?
You know, I'm in a position where I'm older. I have time and resources to really look at, to buy Beautycanner, but to look at clean beauty products that are not going to cause harm to my body or to, my teenage daughter's body. But not everyone else has that luxury. And so that's why it's important for our government to step in, because, people don't have the time, nor should they have the requirement that they need to read a bunch of ingredients that they don't understand simply to put on lotion, put on face lotion in the morning.
You know that the salon bill that got pushed through, was that last year or the year before that? It was that they had to disclose their ingredients, but it's only like on their website. You have to like call them or go to their website or dig to find it. It's not, they didn't have to put it on the packaging. They had to put it on the broader, you can look for it and you can find it, but it's not gonna be on the box.
And not everyone has a computer. I mean, it's it's hiding in plain sight if you have the time and the resources. But sometimes, someone wants to she wants to look nice, and what her version of looking nice is, doesn't involve doing a master's thesis on, all the products that go into hair dye
Right, because
shampoo.
every consumer would not buy it if it had on the label formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Right? Every consumer. You know, the more we know, the better we do. Armed with information, people just make better choices, period.
Yeah.
Right? Did you leave with any kind of inspiration or hope or thought for the future of this getting better?
Well, I think so. There were a lot of good questions, and just kind of, I think a lot of disbelief. Like, really,
Yes.
the federal government last acted, before Pearl Harbor was bombed. I mean, it seems crazy, but the increase of women, as you said, of both parties, could bode well for us if things remain a nonpartisan issue, or if people have some faith that getting the government involved in just maybe preventing us from being poisoned by the private sector is a pretty good idea.
That sounds like a good idea to me too. Yes. So that's what we know as of right now. I just want to thank you, Julie, for just having a little chat with us. I just was so curious if the same information that I'm getting is what is being said to you guys too, and it's just spreading broadly, right?
Yeah.
So we're all in this conversation together, and it really all did kind of match up. It's like, that feels great. So we might check back in with Julie, I don't know, next year if there's an update to this. But thank you very much, and thank you guys so much for being here. Go ahead and put any questions you might have, even for Julie too, down in the comments, and I'll be sure to get them to her and come back and visit us again. Stay curious. Bye.